Get ready.
Hi, my name's Kaz Riley, and this is Trancing in the Sheets on the Hypnosis 247 Live Network. And have I got a really wonderful one for you today? The return of Anna Ferguson, Fitness Fergie. She and I go way, way back. And today we're going to have a conversation about permission and what that means and what it means, especially for us ladies. And if you want to get hold of me here on the show, you can get hold of me on @TrancingSheets on just about any social media platform you can think of. And you can also contact me just by putting comments in the box below on the YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you want to. So over to Anna, Fitness Fergie. Let's talk about permission. Have you got permission to be here, Anna? That's the first question.
I have full permission to be here, of course. So, yeah, this topic resurfaces again and again and again, doesn't it?
Oh, doesn't it? Doesn't it? I mean, just to put this into context for people watching this, like Anna and I are great friends. We've been friends for a long time, and we were sat in a bar in Leeds last Friday talking about this and really about what permission means, because we're told we can't have stuff a lot, aren't we? We're told that we should feel bad about things a lot, and rarely are we give ourselves permission for some of the funner things and nicer things and happiness and
we spanned a lot of topics, didn't we? We spanned a lot of topics. The biggest thing for me, which was interesting over the last week or two, is the ladies that I work with that are emotional eaters and things like that. We got talking about, do they give themselves permission to be slim or curvy or sexy? And a lot of them said, no, I don't give myself permission to be that. And I said, but do you give yourself to be, permission to be fat and frumpy and whatever? And they said, oh yeah, we do that. And I go, whoa, what's going on? And it's almost like, as ladies get older, we've had a few ladies freaking out at big birthdays and things like that, because it's kind of almost, oh, I've got to a certain age now, I'm not allowed to be sexy or slim or curvy or anything like that.
And that's quite a scary one, isn't it? In this idea that somehow as we get older, we become less feminine or less sexy or, whatever it may be. I mean, I was 46 on Monday. So, and people are like, oh, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm me and here I am.
We're fine on growing old disgracefully, don't we, really?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I want people wondering what I'm going to do next. Not, I'm never going to be one that sits and knits in a corner, I don't think. Unless that's what I want to do, which is...
Although I think I would like a pearly rinse when I'm like 80.
Okay.
I'd be the girl in the corner with the purple hair. Quite like that.
I'm already the girl in the corner with the purple hair.
It's true.
Which is true. So, but I think... people do that, as you say, they give themselves permission to, to not be the way that they want to be, but then they actually don't do the opposite of saying, because we know everything starts in the mind. So if you're going to be sexy, you've got to think sexy. If you want to be slim, you've got to think slim. And then you've got to take action. It's no good just thinking slim and then still eating cake, is it?
We were talking about this. There's a very, very big difference between thinking slim and giving yourself permission to be slim. There's a massive difference, and there's a lot of therapies out there, as we know, that tackle this thinking slim. And whenever if someone's trying to lose weight and they go, right, okay, I am thin, and in the back of your head, a little voice goes, no, you're not. Right? So, and it objects straight away. But if you give yourself permission, say, I'm going to give myself permission to be slim, I'm allowed to be slim, the brain goes, all right. There's no objection there, is there?
So what do you recommend people do? I mean, I know I have a few techniques that I'll share in a minute about how to kind of alter that inner voice, because we all do have that inner voice that It's usually not very helpful and quite contradictory, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how do you help people kind of overcome that kind of negative self-talk, which is what it is, isn't it?
Well, there's a few techniques that I use. I use humour a lot, you know, when it comes to feeling sexy. Well, there's nothing more gorgeous than humour when it's sexiness, curviness and whatever. So I use humour a great deal with my clients because they begin to realise just how ridiculous this is, really. And the other thing is, we said, you know, in the early 90s, is that the big phrase "I am" came out, but what happens is it kind of raises a lot of mental objections, as we said. So we're looking to go in through the feeling route, the more sensual route.
No, absolutely. That's that thing, isn't it? It's about when people say "I am," the kind of affirmation, kind of, which there's nothing wrong with affirmations, but you know, I am this or I am that. I think, you know, we object, don't we? Whereas if we say I can feel.
Yeah, we've all done the financial one. I am rich, and your brain goes, I saw your bank balance this morning, you're not. so you go, all right, okay. But if you say I'm allowed to be rich, I'm going to give myself permission to be rich, that's a very different energy. You know, and obviously you work with hypnotherapy, I work with BWRT, brain working recursive therapy, but it's the same, along the same lines, isn't it, really?
Very much so.
Along the same lines, we've just got to go in through the feeling route.
Well, you know, I mean, it's that thing of, I know one of my little catchphrases is feeling is healing, and it is, because if we're not feeling it, I mean, if you look at any aspect of life, if we're not feeling it, it doesn't make us happy, does it?
Oh, it does not. It does not. You got to feel it. And the bottom line is, I always say to all my clients, regardless of what issues they come to me with, I always say, the bottom line is, how do you feel? Do you feel good? If they don't feel good, then that's what the issue is, regardless of whatever else is going on. If they're not feeling good,
or whatever else anybody says as well. So that's the, you know, we all know the person that we look at them and we think, wow, you're amazing, you're beautiful, and they're really unhappy. And you know, it's about their perception, and it's about what it is that they need to do so that they feel happy. You know, the grass is often, or seems always, greener, isn't it? And it's that people often say, if only I was thinner, I was richer, I was more confident, I was this, I was that, I was the other. But actually, it's not often about any of those things, is it? It's about ultimately that sense of self. It is actually the I am, but in a way that it kind of that internal voice then agrees with rather than objects to.
Definitely. And you brought up a really interesting topic while we were enjoying ourselves. That for ladies particularly, we are kind of suppressed in lots of areas growing up through education, and you know, I went to Catholic schools when I was young, and things like that, and there's different things said to the guys than there are to the girls, and we're taught that if we want pleasure or we want to have something that we don't have, we're almost made to feel guilty and greedy about it.
Yes.
I always remember saying, you know, when I was younger, I did a lot of dancing. I was a performer for many years. I remember telling someone that's what I wanted to do, and they told me I was being greedy with life. And I decided then that maybe I was greedy. And that's just the way it was going to be. But not everybody has the confidence in that way.
Not at all. I think, well, this is a thing, isn't it? When we, you know, especially for us ladies, you know, whether that is if we have a strong sexual appetite, for example, then we're shamed for that, or, you know, that times are changing, but certainly I was taught that, you know, that's not how young ladies behave or, you know, should feel.
Oh yes, very unbecoming, isn't it?
You know, and that's not how it should be. And if we, you know, and all of those kinds of things, you know, if we want to be ambitious, then, you know, we're kind of you know, I know somebody said to me recently, well, you know, how do your children cope when you're teaching away? And I was like, well, they have a father who is as perfectly adequate a parent as I am. And
Yeah.
you know, when he goes away, nobody asks him that question. So it's that, you know, it's about giving ourselves permission to not really give a crap what anybody else thinks.
True. I think when it comes to giving permission in that way, I don't know about you, obviously it's been your birthday and we're ladies in our 40s now. Can you believe it? Can you believe that? We're ladies in our... I thought we'd stop at 25.
It's amazing we made it, really, Frank.
It's been a roller coaster ride, Karen. It's been a roller coaster ride. But I think I have settled into myself and grown into myself on all levels, physically, emotionally, sexually. You know, I've gained a confidence I did not have when I was younger. And it's kind of stripping back those teachings that we had all those moons ago, because we realise, you know, that they're a load of rubbish. I'll tell you a really funny one, yeah? So I come from a big Irish family, and I remember my grandmother and my mother telling me when it was the time of the month, I couldn't wash my hair because the water would seep through to my brain. And I remember going, what? Well, why doesn't it seep through the rest of the time? Anyway, one month I just went, sod it, I'm just going to wash my hair. And they went, oh, it doesn't seep through to your brain. I thought, where does this stuff come from? It's old wives' tales, it's crazy stuff, but it really kind of is controlling.
It is, and I think in terms of our femininity, in terms of things like our, you know, our periods, our hormones, you know, we're again, you know, we've been shamed for that. So, you know, it was like I was reading a book recently called Moody Bitch. I forget the name of the author. I think it's Dr. Howard. She's over from America, which basically says, you know, that, you know, as women, we do every month, we go through a cycle where our hormones are in constant flux. And we know that our hormones affect our mood, our behavior, how we think, how we feel. And because, you know, we come from a predominantly male world, or was, then that's kind of shamed. Whereas, you know, it could as easily be the other way around, I think, where, you know, the idea that you've got somebody that's static month in, month out, actually, you know, could be seen as being really quite sinister if it had been the women that were in charge, where, you know, we're kind of going up and down. And the myths that we're told, you know, right back to, I know we were saying, even right back to earlier sex education in school. So, you know, when you get the period talk, you know, what happened in my school was they took the boys off to one room, they took the girls off to another, and we were taught about periods and childbirth and pain. And basically we had to keep the men and the boys away from us at all costs, and it was up to us to do that, and the shame it would bring should, you know, something happen.
It'd be our fault if something happened.
Absolutely. And then the boys were taken somewhere else and were taught about wet dreams, condoms, and masturbation. And
women didn't masturbate in those days, apparently.
no, women don't masturbate. No.
I completely agree with that. That was exactly the same for me. And another old wives' tale that my grandmother and mother used to say was, don't look a boy in the eye when you're on your period, because he'll know. So I says, oh yeah, they know all right. And they said, do they? I said, yeah, because everyone's walking around with greasy hair and dead look at anyone. Of course they know, for God's sake. So it was just farcical. And looking back now, I mean, we're laughing now, but this was stuff that was taught.
You know, and you had to hide away, you know. And there are still cultures, and still, you know, I see lots of women that are utterly disgusted by their own periods, you know. And actually, you know, we know anything, the more we try to push something away and we feel disgusted by it, the more of a bigger negative impact it will have on us every single month.
I think I've stopped apologising for my emotional cycle, you know. So I've had guys say to me, oh, you're very emotional. Or, you know, I go, yes, I am. You know, it's just, and they go, all right, okay. You know, so it's kind of, you stop apologizing for yourself. We go through hormonal fluctuations. It affects our hormones. This is part of who I am. We've got to stop apologizing for being women.
Well, this is it. Well, we need to give ourselves permission to be feminine, to, you know, be however we want to be as women. Actually, it's not a stereotype that we're thinking we should be, certainly, but, you know, so that we can really embrace all of that and get away from the shame. I mean, actually, you know, the idea of, like you were saying, you know, oh, you know, don't look him in the eye because he'll know. Well, so what if he knew you got your period? I mean, who cares?
Yes. It was, a little bit. It was a little bit ridiculous. And I've got, you know, the stories, the horror stories of girls from my mother's era, which it's like one generation back, starting their periods and thinking they were dying and hiding their underwear. And then their mothers would find it and then tell them about periods. And these young girls were thinking, oh my God, something horrendous is happening. And then there was always that fear, that stigma attached to it from then on. And if, you know, a young girl did engage in sex and stuff like that, it was always the girl's fault. It was never the guy's fault. And, you know, the girls would be left holding the baby. Kind of
and it was always kind of, you know, it was always taught, you know, that these, you know, almost taught to fear it as well, that this is what men wanted and this is what they would always try and do, and that why it was all wrong, and, you know, how we should, you know, we should have respect for ourselves. And absolutely we should have respect for ourselves, but however we define that, or, you know, certainly without the shame, you know. And it's that thing I always say, you know, you never hear of a female nymphomaniac and you never hear of a male slut. Generally, it's, you know, that we've got these kind of very stark gender differences still.
Well, I've got a lovely friend I've had for many years, a male friend, and he turns it completely on its head as well, because he says, you know, guys are taught to be tough and macho and everything, and he's a sensitive kind of guy, and he says sometimes he loses his place in the world. You know, guys don't cry. Of course they do. You know, guys don't hurt. You know, it was the same that both genders were defined separately, and really we should be sharing our health. We should be sharing our psychology. We should be sharing our sexuality. For a lot of people now, sexuality is becoming more fluid by the second. So the divide is becoming less as we go along. But this is still new, isn't it?
Scarily, yes. You know, certainly from what I see, you know, here in this very room, you know, women, especially women, and I see men, you know, men as well, but especially women that really struggle with, you know, their libido if they have a strong one, you know, and they, you know, they're asking me, can we help calm it down? And when actually I speak to them, you know, actually for most of them, it's not overly active. It's just that they feel ashamed about it. And
it's kind of owning your power. It's a powerful energy, sexuality. It's a powerful thing. And it's such, it's a shame. It's a waste of such a wonderful thing, really. You know, that people feel so kind of ashamed of it.
Yeah, or that somebody will find out, or, you know, and it's, I mean, I had a lady in here the other day, and she said to me, well, in my 20s, I was a bit promiscuous. And I said, well, and? Yeah, but in my 20s, I was very promiscuous. And? But in my 20s, and I went, so what? Did you have fun? And she said, yes. I said, was it all consensual? She said, yes. And I said,
did you hurt anyone? No.
Did you hurt anybody? You know, no. And I said, so, and she went, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's interesting though, what ladies find promiscuous, right? And I'm going to share something really personal now from me. But I never had a sexual relationship until I was 21. And part of that was my dad had a wonderful saying. You've got to imagine the Irish dad. I used to say, Dad, you just want me to be a nun. And he used to go, none today and none tomorrow. And I used to be like, oh my, but there was a double standard. So my brothers could go out and sow the wild oats but I had to remain virginal. And when it's very hard to meet those expectations, really. And sooner or later, the towel gets thrown in and you think, I can't do this anymore. But what I feel quite sad about is that it took me a long time to discover what sex was about, really, because of those restrictions. And now I think, oh my God, what was I waiting for? I should have been going for it, you know? But so now I think with ladies feeling like they're promiscuous, when they say promiscuous, they probably mean that they slept with a handful of guys, whereas maybe with guys say they're promiscuous, they're talking many, many more women than the women talk about when they're talking about the guys.
But even, you know, even if they're not, even if they're, you know, they're slept with a different person every week or every day, it doesn't matter, does it?
No.
It's about, you know, it's about how that person is. And, you know, it's very much about, you know, kind of leveling things up, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that people get what they need. But certainly for us ladies, it's not even about being promiscuous. It's about giving ourselves permission to be sensual, sexual beings, and not being ashamed of that in the way that we choose to kind of express that.
Well, both you and I have had this experience where we've been asked to tone it down. A bit,
what?
Because we've become all, you know, like if we're creative, you know, if we're enjoying something, our sensuality comes out, you know, and then people are quite kind of horrified, really, and want us to tone it down. When I think about it, it says more again about society. You know, we weren't running naked through Leeds, were we, Karen? We were just having a good time and enjoying ourselves.
Well, in fairness, we were waving a clitoris about, but that's a whole other stuff.
Yeah, we were. That was interesting. That was so interesting. I thought about that a lot, that I didn't recognise my own bodily parts.
But we'll come to that in a different episode. But yeah, so, but you're right, you know, that's the thing, you know, people are like, it's kind of trying to put out your fire, isn't it? Or kind of dampen down your glow, if you like, where, you know, you and I have both mastered pressing the fuck it button, really, haven't we? And, you know, here I am. Yeah. We are us. You know, I can imagine the two of us together is an interesting experience, you know, out on the streets of Leeds, but hopefully we can inspire other people to do that, just to kind of to give themselves permission to simply be themselves. And I think that's probably...
And people worry about this. It's not offensive to give yourself permission to be exactly who you are, whether you want to be slim, healthy, rich, sexy, foxy. It doesn't matter what you want to be. That isn't offensive to anyone. It is simply what you want.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of the perfect place to leave that. As ever, time races away with us. So Anna, obviously you've got Eating Freedom, there's Fitness Fusion. Tell everybody where they can find you and your websites and all that kind of jazz.
Okay, I have got a few websites. I've got fitness-fusion.co.uk, and I've also got bwrttherapy.com, and I've also got foodfreedomclass.com, which is where people go if they're suffering from emotional and binge eating.
There we go. So that's where you can find Anna. I suspect Anna being such a great friend of mine, and you know, we've been chatting on the internet for years, so I think a regular on Trancing in the Sheets, just because we have so much fun, and we hope you join in with the fun too. You can find me at Trancing Sheets on Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, you name it. You can find me on YouTube on Trancing in the Sheets. Also, now from the 13th of January 2020, we'll be on Apple TV, Amazon Fire and Roku on the Hypnosis 247 live network. And don't forget to check out some of our other hosts. We've got some great new people in season 2. And of course, we've got the old favourites, people like the amazing Greg Beckett, for example, good and old friend of mine. So tune in, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.
Get ready.